Hey Emma, do you have a minute? I need to talk to you about something important regarding my cloud service.
Sure, David. What's on your mind?
I've been reading a lot about data privacy concerns in cloud computing, and honestly, I'm worried. I store all my client data in the cloud, but how can I be sure it's safe from misuse or unauthorized access?
That's a great question, and I appreciate you thinking about it. Many people assume cloud storage is automatically secure, but ethical cloud computing requires more than just technology, it requires trust and responsibility. At our company, we follow strict data security protocols to protect user information. We use strong encryption, multi-factor authentication, and strict access controls to keep your data safe.
Encryption? So, my data is scrambled or something?
Exactly. Encryption transforms your data into an unreadable format. Only someone with the correct decryption key can access it. Even if hackers somehow intercept your files, they won't be able to read them.
That's good to know. But what about third parties? I've heard that some cloud providers sell user data to advertisers or other companies. How do I know my data isn't being sold without my consent?
Transparency is key. Ethical cloud providers never sell or share user data without explicit consent. We follow GDPR, CFA, and ISO 27001 compliance, which means we have to be completely transparent about how we handle your information. I always tell clients, before trusting a cloud provider, review their data usage policies. If their terms are unclear or buried in fine print, that's a red flag.
But who actually has access to my data? I mean, can someone inside your company just peek into my files?
That's an important concern. Some employees do have limited access, but only for security monitoring and system maintenance.
How do you prevent abuse?
We use role-based access control, RBAC, meaning only authorized personnel can access certain data, and even then, it's limited to what they absolutely need to do their job. Every action is logged and audited, so if someone tries to access something they shouldn't, we know immediately.
That's reassuring. But what if law enforcement or the government demands access to my stored data? Can they just take it?
This is where things get tricky. By law, cloud providers must comply with legal requests, but ethical ones only provide data when legally required and, whenever possible, inform users about these requests.
So, some cloud providers might hand over data without telling me?
Unfortunately, yes. But ethical providers follow a responsible disclosure policy, meaning they'll notify you before sharing your data, unless legally prohibited.
What about encryption? Wouldn't that stop anyone from accessing my data?
That's where zero-knowledge encryption comes in. Some providers offer this feature, meaning even they can't read your data. Only you hold the decryption key.
That sounds perfect. But how do I know if a cloud provider is truly ethical and not just making empty promises?
Look for third-party audits, certifications, and transparency reports. Ethical providers publish reports showing how often they receive and comply with data access requests. If a company doesn't disclose this, be skeptical.
I never realized there was so much to think about. I used to believe cloud computing was just about storing files online, but now I see it's also about protecting my clients' privacy.
Exactly. Ethical cloud computing isn't just a technical choice, it's a moral responsibility. Businesses like yours should demand transparency, and cloud providers should be held accountable for how they handle data.
So, if I'm choosing a cloud provider, I should be looking at encryption, compliance, audits, and transparency reports?
Yes. And always check independent reviews to see what other users are saying about their privacy practices.
Thanks, Emma. This was really eye-opening. I'm going to make sure I choose a cloud provider that values privacy, security, and ethical practices.
That's the right mindset. Cloud computing should be built on trust, not just technology.